Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? What's good? It's DFJ Hoops here, back again with another live show. And I'm in here today with a guest. He's very, very big in the Sixer community. If you don't know who he is, then you probably haven't been so active in the Sixer community. And we're going to talk some Sixers hoops. So I want y'all to be very, very active in the comment section. If you have any hot takes, any questions from my guy, Trusttheluv, you can keep those, you can bring in those comments and we'll definitely ask him and he'll more than likely address any questions or comments that y'all have. But let me not waste any more time. Let me just bring my guy onto the show. What's good, bro?
Yo, how are you?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. Just we're back from the All Star break. It's gonna be some basketball games tonight, but not the Sixers. But I just want to ask you real quick, how do you feel about the All Star game and the new format, the whole All Star weekend?
Before I answer, should I turn my camera on or do
Bro,
you
it's
care?
up to you, but you can
Okay.
turn it if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just turn on. The All Star game and the new features you said.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it's kind of a joke. If I'm being totally honest. Um,
Oh,
I, they had a perfect formula for All Star Weekend. It was Friday night was the celebrity game. Whatever, I don't care about that. Rising Stars game. Saturday night was the skills challenge, 3 point contest, dunk contest. Boom. Sunday night was All Star game. Why change? I don't get it.
right.
I don't get it. This year I didn't. I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't even watch the All Star game this year. I didn't
Oh,
watch it. I didn't
oh,
watch it at all. I
wow.
the only thing I watched was I saw who did I see in the 3 point contest? Was it Steph? I
Steph
watched
Curry was in it. Dame
I
was in
watched like four guys in the 3 point contest. I did not watch the dunk contest because I knew Mac McClung was going to win. I I did not watch the skills. I just think it's a joke. So
That's a joke. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I haven't really paid attention to the All Star Weekend since 2020. Like that was the last time I actually paid attention to it, and I felt like it was good. The All Star game was lit. The
yep.
3 point contest, the dunk contest, everything was lit. But since then, it's just been a joke, like you said. And I didn't even bother tuning in because I knew it was going to be a joke. They're not going to take it serious. And the dunk
Mhm.
contest, like you said, Mac McClung, who's a Sixer legend, shout out to him. He did his thing, winning three in a row. But yeah, that was just our quick thoughts on All Star Weekend. But let's just dive into some Sixers. Let's talk some Sixers basketball.
Sweet.
I just want to ask you, what's your thoughts so far on the first half of the Sixers season?
So I could go a lot of different avenues with this, but I'll try and be as concise as I can. I'm
Uh-huh.
not breaking I'm not breaking any news here when I say that the first half of the season was really bad. Um, Especially when you consider the expectations that a lot of us had for this team, a
Right,
team that, in my opinion, on paper looked like one of the best teams the Sixers have ever had. And obviously, it's easy to shoot that down now because of the result of this season as we're seeing. But once Paul George got here and once the Sixers made those other acquisitions, they were able to re-sign Kelly Oubre. They brought in some vets. They drafted Jared McCain. Things were looking really good. And I was pretty vocal on my page about I think this is legitimately one of the best teams the Sixers have ever had. This is one of the best coaches they've ever had, with arguably, in my opinion, maybe the best player they've ever had, Joel Embiid. I don't know. A
uh-huh.
lot of people wouldn't say that now, of course, because of what's happening. But relative to the expectations, this season was kind of a disaster. I'm not going to lie. And obviously, there's still time to right the ship, although I'm not sure how that's going to even work because if Embiid might not even play. Paul George is getting injections in his knee. Things are just not looking good.
Right,
And I I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong outcome, except if they go for the full let's just try and win out and get into the play in and they fail and they miss out on that top six pick, it's gonna suck.
right,
But
right,
then again, if they go for the top six pick and lose, but accidentally somehow miss the sixth pick, it's just a mess. And I do resonate with a lot of Sixers fans with the frustration and the disappointment. I just feel like no matter what route they take, I feel like will make a good whatever path they decide to go down. I think they'll make a good choice because if you shut down Embiid for the rest of the season, you shut down PG, you just let everybody hoop. Justin Edwards, let him hoop. Adem Bona, let him hoop. Ricky Council, let him hoop. That could be kind of fun, I guess. If you're a real Sixers fan, I think it'd be kind of fun.
Right.
And then you can not full on tank, but essentially that's what you're doing. If you let those guys get real minutes. So I don't know. I feel like the first half of the season was definitely a bummer, disappointment, disaster, shipwreck of a first half of the season.
Right.
Again, just for a lot of reasons, injuries being the main one here, especially with Embiid and George and even McCain. I mean, McCain right now I think would really help this team because he brings something they don't really have right now outside of Maxey. So just injuries just all season just plague this team all season. And, people want a quick fix to the problem. I know we're going to probably get to a little more of this, but people want a quick fix to the problem. Oh, trade Embiid, trade Paul George, fire Nick Nurse. But one, it's not that simple, in my opinion. Two, it doesn't really do anything because what does trading Embiid do for you? Okay, you trade Embiid. Let's just say this. Let's just say the solution is to trade Embiid, right? What then? What you are rebuilding? I've been saying this. I'm not sure how long you've been following me, but I've been saying this for I don't know, almost a year at this point. Like you trade Embiid, what you're doing is rebuilding because trading Embiid means you are not giving up, but you're trading the best player on your team by far. You're trading one of the best players in the league. You're rebuilding. So you're essentially heading towards another process era. Do the Sixers really want to do that? I can't imagine the front office wants to do that. I can't imagine Daryl Morey wants to do that. Trading Paul George. Okay. So you trade him, and then what? What do you get for him? Nobody wants Paul George, especially after the season he's had, the contract he has right now. Nobody wants Paul George. I like Paul George a lot. I'm not hating on Paul George. I'm not slandering him. I believe in him very much so. But nobody wants him. Who wants Paul George? What team in the league right now wants Paul George? And for what are the Sixers going to get back? They're not getting anything of super high value. So then at that point, why are you trading him? You don't, in this league, at least in my opinion, you don't make trades just for the sake of making a trade. And that's something I've been saying for a while too. You don't make trades just to make a trade. Trades, more often than not, in my opinion, don't help the team that is giving up the best piece, whatever. Like a trade for trading Paul George doesn't help you. You're not getting high draft picks. You're not really getting super talented players back. You might get a couple solid role players, maybe a second. I don't know. I don't even know what the market would be for him. But trading Paul George doesn't fix things for you. Firing Nick Nurse, what does that do? What other coach out there is gonna come in and what other coach out there is going to be a difference maker for this team? I every year it seems when things go wrong, the first fingers are pointed at Nick Nurse, or I'm sorry, the first fingers are pointed at the coach, and then it's Embiid, and then it's like whoever else is on the roster. So it just so happens to be Nick Nurse is the coach. Oh, his lineups are bad. Yeah, he does make some questionable lineup decisions, but at the end of the day, he's trying to do the best he can with what he has, and I don't think people understand that. I don't think people understand you're missing PG, Joel Embiid, you missed Tyrese Maxey for a little while, you're missing Jared McCain, you're missing Andre Drummond. That's essentially an entire starting five worth of your best players. So when you don't have your 3, 4, 5 best players, it's not going to be easy to really craft rotations that may make sense, but also are impactful. Like, I understand you can't him playing Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, the amount he did is not good. That's diabolical in my opinion, and I'm not defending that. However, my point here is that he's trying to do the best he can with what he has, and when your best player is like, I don't know, you take Maxey and Embiid and PG out. Who's the Sixers' best player? Gershon?
Kelly
That's
Oubre.
Kelly Oubre. You're not. I don't care who's coaching. I don't care who's sitting in the coach's seat on the bench. You're not getting much out of that team. If your best, I love Gershon. I just made a post about an hour ago. You're not getting much out of that team. If your best player is Gershon Yabusele, you're not getting that much out of that team. So I said I'd be concise about this, and I'm not being concise about it. So that's pretty much all I got for that.
Yeah, you did say quite a lot from there, but I just want to start from the beginning
Yeah.
with the expectations that we have for this team, and then playing the first half of the
Mhm.
season. I mean, absolutely, it's been so terrible.
It's been
Uh,
bad.
I had the Sixers as the at least the third seed.
Mhm.
I had them finishing at least by the third seed, and then speaking right now, fast forward to February, and they're not even in the play-in. It is so terrible. And
Yeah.
considering how good I thought this team was going to be, because with the signings they made, signing Paul George, re-signing Kelly Oubre, bringing in Andre Drummond, and the Andre Drummond factor, because the Sixers really got killed in the postseason against the Knicks, with the rebounding, especially when Embiid was off the floor. So when they brought in Drummond, I felt like, yo, is really going to help us with the rebounding. It's going
Mhm.
to help us with a lot of things, right? And then signing Eric Gordon, who Eric Gordon had a very good season with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, Phoenix, they lost in the first round, but I still felt like he had enough left in the tank, coming off the bench and providing some instant offense for the Sixer team, right? So I had all these expectations for this team, and then fast forward after the All-Star break, the Sixers are not even in the play-in, right? They're not even in the play-in, two or three games out the play-in, and the fans are going to be fans. Fans are going to be frustrated because they also had expectations for this team, but because of injuries, Joel Embiid, the starting the season, missing the first 9 games, and then you got Paul George also coming into the season. Paul George essentially limped into the season because he dealt with um was it hyperextended? Yeah, he had a
Yep. It was hyperextension.
right. He missed those first games, and then playing, he returns, and then it hyperextends that same knee again, and then just injuries throughout the whole team has made this team very, very not really, they haven't really how should I even put this? We haven't seen them fully healthy over a stretch because they've dealt with so much injuries. And sometimes the coaching rotations is a little bit questionable because some of the guys that Nick Nurse has on the floor, which you also defended him on that, because he's not really, when you have three of your best players hurt, it's very, very difficult to come up with a very, very concise rotations out there. But I felt like sometimes his rotations didn't really make sense because
Yeah.
sometimes playing 3 guards, 4 guards with this Sixer team being as small as they are, with rebounding being one of their biggest issues, playing 3 4 guards, it's not really going to help the team. And then offensively, we don't run enough actions to get guys open. There's not enough ball movement. It's not enough player movement. And this team has been really, really different from last season, because last
Mhm.
season I believe that when he came in, like, the offense was good. The Sixers was top 3 in offense, top 3 in defense, and the net rating was very, very good. But I mean, Joel Embiid was healthy, and for the most part, we had all our guys healthy
Yep.
as well, with Kelly Oubre having a lot to prove, because Kelly Oubre, before the Sixers signed him, nobody wanted to touch him, right? So he has something to prove. Nick Nurse also has something to prove because he got fired from the Raptors and was trying to prove that he's still a good enough coach that can lead a team to a championship. And he was doing that. But I just think that this year we're not really seeing it. And yeah, we can say the injuries, because if your best players are not out there on the floor, you're not really going to get enough out of the team. But I felt like sometimes, he could have done more to help this team. And Paul George, dealing with the injuries, and then sometimes him out there on the floor underperforming. Tyrese Maxey sometimes underperforming and not playing up to his level. I think those are all contributing factors. And then on top of it all, Joel Embiid not playing enough games has really factored into this team not being bad. And I mean, in today's NBA, if you don't have your best player, play in games, if you don't have your best player playing a lot of games, it's going to be very, very difficult for your team to be very, very successful. And I just want to talk about this, the Joel Embiid factor. Now, I heard you talk about, not wanting to trade Embiid, and the fans think otherwise, right? Sixer fans think otherwise. Sixer fans want Embiid gone because he's not playing enough games. He's not playing back-to-back games, and his effort on the court has not been so good. What do you think about that? And would you trade Joel Embiid if you had the opportunity to? If you were the GM?
No,
Mm,
I would not trade Joel Embiid because I want to kind of go back to what I was saying earlier. And I will. And the thing is, and I'll start with this. A lot of times, what you see when it comes to the effort on the floor, I think we can all understand that even though he has gotten a lot better, when Joel Embiid's tired, it shows. And the tiredness, the fatigue can come from a lot of things. I imagine it has a lot to do with the knee injury because if you're essentially playing on one knee, you're essentially only going to have half the energy that you had or that you would normally have because you essentially are playing on one leg. And you know, that can also have an effect on how many games you play. And we know that Joel Embiid thrives the most with rhythm. And obviously that's the case with a lot of star players. So when there's a nagging injury like Joel Embiid has, it plays into a lot of other things. Like it factors into a lot of other things, especially fatigue. And I don't think people quite understand that. I think people just look at it as, oh, he's a lazy flopper bum. He sucks. Like that's that's what it is. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's the image they have of Joel Embiid. That's the image that they're going to associate with Joel Embiid, a flopping bum, a lazy flopping out of shape bum who's always hurt because he's out of shape. And it's like I could sit here for a half hour and break that down. I'm not going to do that. I could sit here and break down that for half an hour because it's just there's so much context and nuance that's required to have a conversation like that. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. Like a lot of people aren't ready to sit down and have an actual conversation about the context surrounding that statement because it's
mm,
very false.
right,
And again, unfortunately, a lot of Sixers fans don't actually watch games. They just look at the box score. They look at how many games he played, and they think that everything's his fault. He's a bum. He's out of shape. He has a horrible diet. He doesn't eat right. And like half of the stuff that is being said is things that no one actually knows for sure because one, they're not actually with Joel Embiid. They don't know him personally, so they can't possibly know what his diet is like. And
but not to cut you off. People
yeah.
say because I think about 6 or 7 years ago that pregame where he was eating a burger before the
Yeah.
game. That's why. Yeah,
It sucks because and you're right. You're totally right. But it sucks because since then he's come out publicly and said and said he's improved his diet. And you can see it. Like Joel Embiid now is way slimmer, way leaner than he was even 2 years ago, and he won MVP 2 years ago.
right,
So to say that he's out of shape and he's a flopping lazy bum is just a total disillusion that people are somehow buying into because again, for him being an quote unquote, I'm doing quotes, you can't see me, but quote unquote out of shape bum, he literally won MVP 2 seasons ago. Like
right. Mhm.
it's totally contradictory because how are you out of shape and a lazy bum but you win MVP? Like how does a lazy bum win MVP? I don't get it. So
The critics say it was a pity
yeah,
MVP.
of course, because the problem is that a lot of people will do anything they can possibly do to discredit Joel Embiid because they can't possibly Joel Embiid cannot possibly be as good as people think he is. Like to them, he cannot possibly be that good. He can't be good enough to win MVP by himself. Oh, he's a free throw merchant. He's a bum. He's a flopper. He can't be good. Free throw merchants can't win MVPs. He takes 11 free throws a game. Why should he win MVP? It's that kind of mentality of he's not deserving because of things that don't matter because he takes 11 free throws a game and
Right.
he's kind of clumsy. Like to them, that means Joel Embiid is undeserving of an MVP and two-time scoring title. Two-time scoring title, almost 3, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like people will go to such extreme and quite honestly psychotic lengths to to bring Embiid down, to tear him down, to make him seem less than he is, to make the public perception of him worse, so that for whatever reason, I really don't know. I really don't know. Like, sure, is he kind of clumsy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, is he a troll sometimes? Even though he hasn't done that much lately. Sure, yeah, he can be a troll sometimes, but it's like any other NBA player can do the things Joel Embiid does, and nobody will say anything about it. But
Right.
when he does it, oh, he's a bum. Oh, he's a flopper. He's lazy. He's a free throw merchant. He's trash. He sucks. Trade him. I don't know. I'm kind of. I'm sorry. I just have a very, very. I'm very, very opinionated when it comes to Joel Embiid and dialogue surrounding him. Let me let me reel it in.
Yeah,
Let
you
me
good.
reel it
Yeah.
in. Let me reel it in and get back to your question.
Right.
Trading Joel Embiid is not the answer. I don't think it will be. I don't think it is. I don't think it ever was. And I truly, genuinely think that the only time the Sixers should trade him is if they're really, you know what, he's washed beyond belief. He hasn't played a full season in 3 years. Or I'm sorry, like he hasn't played a full season. What am I trying to say? Like he missed an entire season. Or like he missed an entire season and hasn't played in almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
He hasn't played a single game in a year and a half. Okay, maybe explore the option, especially because he's getting older, especially because he is injured. But until that happens, if and when, or if he says, you know what, guys, it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to head out. Please trade me. We can work on a trade together. If either of those two things happen, okay, sure. But if and until then, there's no reason to trade him because you're sending the organization into another process era. And for everybody that says, oh, I hated the process, oh my gosh, 10 and 72, we're going to go back there. So if that's what people want, then the Sixers, yes, that is a solution. If you really want to see those 20-win, 30-win seasons again, which I guess we might win 30 this year, but that's because there's no Embiid. Duh. That's because there's no Embiid. You trade Embiid, you're going to win 30 games or less. It's that simple. And if Embiid does not play, you suck. If Embiid does not play, you're going to win less than 30 games. So if that's what people want with another 3 to 4 years of rebuilding and trying to draft well, okay, then so be it. Then that's what you want. But I don't think trading Embiid is the solution that people say it is. Because even if you trade him, what are you getting for him? Who is going to give up picks for him? I can't imagine many, unless you're a rebuilding team right now. People think, oh, the Thunder will do it. No, the Thunder are not trading for Joel Embiid, but they have all these picks. No. That's not how it works. So I don't think trading Embiid is the solution. I don't think it ever has. I don't think it ever will be. And I don't think it is right now.
But speaking of Joel Embiid, right, and the amount of games that he's played this season, and him not playing in back-to-backs, don't you think that's a reason why Sixer fans are saying that they should trade him? Because he's not okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Because when you go to these comment sections, when you go on the Sixer pages, all you see is he's a lazy bum. He has to get traded. He's not really helping the team. And some people are even saying that he's trying to force his way out. That's why he's not playing games. So that maybe that's why people think that he should be traded or should be moved.
Yeah. The problem is that a lot of people make a lot of assumptions without knowing anything, especially when it comes to him forcing his way out. I just don't buy that. I don't see it. There would have been no reason for him to people don't think about it logically. What logical reason would Joel Embiid have for forcing his way out? They just signed the dude that he wanted. He has a perfect running mate in Tyrese Maxey. He has a great coach who he's gotten along with since Nick Nurse got here. What actual reason? Joel Embiid, this might be the best team he's ever had. What logical reason would he have for wanting to I don't get that.
Yeah.
The back-to-backs, no, because Embiid hasn't really played back-to-backs the last couple of seasons anyway. And if he has, it's been in spurts. He's never, ever played every single back-to-back anyway. I understand the statement coming out. Now, that's new. The Sixers have never actually fully declared that he would not play back-to-backs. They've never actually said that in writing, but the Sixers for the past couple seasons have not played Joel Embiid back-to-backs, and that goes into my point about people not watching games. Because if you watch the Sixers the past couple of years, you would know the Sixers have not played Embiid on every back-to-back anyway. I think the problem now is just that they're confirming what's already been happening, and it sends people into an uproar because they have no idea what's going on. Oh, I can't believe this all this time, and he's going to stop playing back-to-backs, whereas he hasn't done that for a couple seasons now. So, no, I don't think that's grounds enough to trade him. I think it's grounds for some frustration, perhaps, because, yeah, I'd like to see him play, but I think if the thought is that it will preserve his long-term health, I think it's the best. I think it's for the best. And even though it hasn't been working out that way, it's still the intention is good. There's the Sixers mean well. Joel Embiid means well. They're not trying to do anything to hurt anybody, especially Joel Embiid. They're doing it for the betterment of him. They want him to be 100%. They want him to get there at some point. And again, obviously it's not really working because he's not played many games. He's only played 17 games this year. But the idea, like the intention is good. The intention behind it is good. So no, I don't think that's grounds to trade him. I think that's grounds for some possible frustration. And I get it. Again, I want to reiterate, I understand that. I'm kind of frustrated too. I want to see him play. I want to see him get to a place where he can dominate the NBA like he did. Not even a year ago. Like he only played 39 games last year, sure. But at the same time, he was dominating in every game. I mean, yeah, it's only half the season, but he was averaging 35 points a game before he got hurt. I mean, who else was doing that? People, and I'll end with this because I catch myself going off on a tangent.
No, you good, bro. You're good.
I'll end with this. People forget how good he is, and I get it. It's easy to forget because when he doesn't play much, people have very short-term memories, and they don't actually remember how good he is. But when Joel Embiid's healthy, when he's playing, he's literally one of the 3 best players in the NBA, and we've seen it. Everyone has seen it. He's finished second in MVP 2 years in a row. He won the MVP 2 seasons ago. He's finished multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. Well, not quite finalists, but kind of. I can't really name you many guys better than him. This season has really clogged people's memories and fogged up their perceptions of him because he's only played 17 games. If you remember, 2 seasons ago, Embiid played 66 and 68 games. That would have been the most he's played in his entire career, and that was his 28-year-old and 27-year-old season. He played 35 minutes a game, 34 minutes a game. So not really too long ago, he almost played 2 full seasons. If it weren't for Jonathan Kuminga falling on him last year, we would have seen something totally different. And again, I want to also reiterate this point is I don't even think any injury Embiid has been his fault. If you go back and look at the injuries he's had, it's been getting hit in the face. It's been him. It's been another player falling on him. It's been getting hit in the face by his own teammate. It's been him getting elbowed by Pascal Siakam.
Right.
Like someone said in the comments, it's Jonathan Kuminga's fault now. Yes, it is because he fell. I mean, are we watching the same game? Like, yes, it is Jonathan. It is Jonathan Kuminga's fault. He fell on Joel Embiid and injured Joel Embiid. He didn't do it on purpose, but he still did it. And that is the reason why we're here today. That is the reason we're talking about this today, because Jonathan Kuminga fell on Embiid and hurt his knee. How is that? It's definitely not Joel Embiid's fault. I don't get it.
Yeah, I just want to ask you this question. Do you have any criticisms for Joel Embiid for this season and this season alone?
When you say criticisms, what do you mean?
Considering, I mean, the position that the Sixers are in right now and him himself as a player, when he plays games, I think we have a losing record when he plays. Like, you have any criticisms? Because some people are saying that when he's playing, the offense is bad, the defense is bad, and offensively he tries to take every shot that's possibly available to him, and he's not really getting his teammates involved like other centers do, like the Sabonis, the Jokic, and just to name a few.
Right. Well, Sabonis is not that good, but for reference, Embiid has taken 17 shots per game this year in the 17 games he's played. That's the fewest of his career since 2019. So I think there's something to be said about that, especially when you consider, um, you know, let's just go. Well, I can't really see that stat right now, but Embiid is shooting the ball 17 times per game on average in the 17 games he's played. So I don't really think that equates to taking every shot, because when you look at when he's played, 22 shots per game last year, 20 the year before, and Tyrese Maxey still averaged like, what did he average when Joel Embiid's last healthy season was? We're gonna use Tyrese Maxey for some
Wait,
reason.
last year I think Max averaged
No,
20.
it was what year? I'm sorry, I'm just gonna check. I should have the stats up, but I don't. In Joel Embiid's last fully healthy season, which was 22-3, Tyrese Maxey took 15 shots a game.
Right.
So I don't know what is meant when fans say he's taking all the shots, because the last time he had a fully healthy season, Tyrese Maxey was still shooting 15 times on average per game, which was his running mate essentially. So I don't know. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. So the only criticism I'd have of Embiid is that I think he's kind of clumsy, and I don't know that there's necessarily a solution to that, because I feel as though the reason he may be on the ground more than we might like is that I don't know if this is still the case, but this was something that was true a couple seasons ago, where he would not quite fall on purpose, but he would like be on the ground more than he should have been, as to try and prevent himself from getting hurt or falling. Like his default would be to kind of glide to the floor in an attempt to prevent himself from getting hurt or falling over accidentally, hurting himself, that kind of thing. I'm not sure how true that still is, but that would probably be the only criticism I have of him, because at the end of the day, when you look at it this way, he's the best player on the team, so he's by default going to get a majority of the shots, if not just about a majority of the shots.
Right.
He is the guy that you want him shooting the ball. Outside of Maxey, like I want the ball in Embiid's hands. When it comes down to it, I want the ball in Embiid's hands. Yeah. Someone said this guy's basically saying Embiid's a flopper. No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know if this guy is listening. What I'm saying, what I'm saying is he's kind of clumsy. That doesn't flopping means he throws himself into defenders on purpose to try and get foul calls. It's not really the same thing as what I'm talking about. This is non-contact stuff that I'm talking about. Embiid is trying to glide more to the ground so that players don't hit him and he gets out of the way. Yeah, I did say he glides to the ground so that nobody hits him and he falls over and hurts himself. Flopping is he's throwing himself into defenders with the ball to try and get foul calls and free throws. That's not what I'm saying at all. I don't know. I think I'm making a pretty good distinction between the two.
When you say, because I think I heard about it a few years ago where people were just criticizing him of being the biggest guy on the floor and then always being on the ground for the majority of the time. And then I read somewhere that says that his doctors told him that if he's in a situation where he's trying to brace himself from falling, he should just fall to the floor.
Right. That's what I'm referring to.
Right. It's much better for him to spread the impact all over his body rather than the lower extremity. So that's why he quote unquote flops all. I mean, sometimes he does, he does the rip through to get foul calls, which is a smart basketball play. I mean, that's what I always thought when I was playing basketball, that sometimes use the defender's aggressiveness against them. So I don't think that's a bad thing. But the narrative that he flops all the time, that's just not true. But
it's not true.
Yeah, but I just want to pivot to Paul George.
Sure.
Right? I just want to pivot to Paul George because we can focus on this Embiid thing for the whole show.
Yeah.
But Paul George, what were your thoughts when there's rumors that the Sixers were going to sign him, and then when they finally signed him and what he's doing for this team? What are your thoughts right now?
Yeah. So initially, I didn't want Paul George. Initially, I wanted the Sixers to use any and all cap space to just go after really high quality role players to put around Embiid and Maxey. Now, when things got closer, when things got a little more serious, I really thought it over and I said, you know what? Getting Paul George makes a lot of sense because I was assuming that he was going to be the exact same player he was with the Clippers. Getting a guy like Paul George who can give you 20 a game, hit threes really well, create his own shot off the dribble, get separation from defenders, attack the basket, and play really good defense.
Uh-huh.
I was all in. I was sold. And the day we signed him, I thought, wow, Paul George, this team is really, really good. And again, I think I talked about this earlier in the show, but it's easy for everyone to go back and be like, oh, we shouldn't have got him. Well, that's stupid because we should have got him. And it's good that Daryl Morey did that. And he still did the right thing. There is no rewriting history here. Daryl Morey did the right thing by signing Paul George. We all wanted it to get Paul George. Daryl Morey did it, and he got the best player available in free agency. And he again, like Paul George was legitimately up until now, or up until I guess before the season started, Paul George was legitimately the best player for. I'm sorry, he was legitimately the best player available in free agency, and there's no rewriting history on that either. This was exactly what the Sixers should have done. Now, fast forward to now, it's not looking like a great, things aren't looking great. But again, I want to just really triple down on the fact that Daryl Morey doing that was exactly what he should have done. He did the right thing and he still made the right choice. Right. However, all that aside, Paul George doesn't look great. And let me just pull up his games played. You probably have it, but I'm going to just have it on the screen. Paul George has played, he's played 35 games. Okay, that's what I figured. So career lows in scoring for PG. Well, I mean, outside of like his first couple of years in the league.
Right.
16 points a game. His three-point shooting is kind of down, although he is still shooting almost 7 per game. So my big issue with Paul George, and I can and will be a lot more critical with Paul George, even though he's also been kind of hurt this year. My biggest issue with Paul George is the fact that he just doesn't look like how he did in LA. And I don't know if it's the injury. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it has to do with, lack of roster continuity, lack of players being available, and him trying to fit where he can, but it's kind of difficult because nobody's really playing. I don't know what it is. I can't quite pinpoint it. But what I do know is that he doesn't look great. He kind of passes the box score, but the eye test kind of says he just doesn't look great. And he's had games where he scores in single digits and scores less than 10 points. He just doesn't look that good defensively. He doesn't look great. He's not really shooting the ball like we would like him to. I'm not saying he has to be a spot-up shooter because that's the opposite of the player he is and the player he should be.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like he's definitely been underwhelming is what I'm going to say. And again, I don't know quite why. I do still believe he can turn things around, especially with perhaps a healthy offseason. Maybe he gets a procedure done. I don't know, because he's getting shots in his knee, which apparently, according to Shams, is only happens during the playoffs and not the regular season. So I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I'm hoping that's not bad news, because if he's out for a while, with whatever kind of injury in his knee he's got going on, it's not good.
Right.
It's not good.
Not good.
It's just, I don't know. I'm still kind of mixed feelings about it, but I do still believe he can turn it around. I do still believe in Paul George as a player and for this team. So I'm definitely I'm optimistic, but I'm still kind of weary and uncertain about how it's going to go moving forward, especially if they don't shut him down this year.
Oh, so you want them to shut him down?
I don't know. If they shut Embiid down, which I think could end up being a good idea, like I mentioned before. If they shut Embiid down, I feel like they should. I don't know. It would depend on whether or not the Sixers want everyone to know that they're openly tanking. Like if you shut Paul George down, yeah, you're trying to get that pick. It's obvious. But if you don't shut him down, you're thinking, okay, well, you know what? Maybe the Sixers are going to try and still stay in the race without Embiid. But it's like if he continues to play poorly, they still might get the pick because he's not really helping them much. Even though Paul George is playing, he's not really helping them much. So I don't know. I feel like you can't really go wrong because if Paul George does continue to stink it up like he has, then you can kind of get away with the embracing the tank, if you will, because again, if you sit Embiid, you are tanking. You're giving up the season. That's just how this works.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like they can get away with it. I don't know, but I'm not. I don't know that they should, but I feel like if they did, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Like I'm kind of mixed on whether or not they should, but I feel like if they do, it wouldn't be that crazy.
Yeah. Um, let's just move forward. I just want to speak on the role players, the
Sure.
acquisitions that the Sixers made at the trade deadline, and the players
Hmm.
that they had to give up.
Hmm.
Who has been the most impressive after since the trade deadline? And what are your thoughts on Gershon Yabusele as well?
I could write an essay on Gershon Yabusele. Another player that I could talk about for at least 10 to 15 minutes. I won't do that, I promise. I keep telling you I keep telling you I'm not going to do that and I do.
Oh, good.
But I'm not going to do that. So you said the role players and then Gershon?
Gershon, yep.
Yep. Man, when the Sixers signed Gershon back in August, I think it was, I didn't really know what to think because he hadn't been in the league for almost 6 years, and from what I remember of him, he wasn't that good with the Celtics. I don't quite remember,
Mhm.
but what I saw of him, just what I remember of him wasn't that good. So I was thinking, okay, this is cool. He's a big body. They can have rebounding. He can play some defense, whatever. Little did I know he would legitimately become one of the best role players in the NBA, and I feel pretty comfortable saying that. Um,
Mhm.
Again, I say that loosely because there are a lot of role players better than him. I just want to make that very clear.
Right.
But he's really carved out a nice role for himself with this team. He's shooting 40% from three, which is insane. He's shooting five threes per game. He's scoring the ball really well. Um, really good rebounder. He's bringing that physicality that I knew he had, but he's also pairing it with some solid scoring from three and down low in the
Mhm.
paint. So I'm really, really pleased with Gershon Yabusele's performance. I'm hoping they can re-sign him. I don't know what the market's going to be for him. He could probably get a massive deal from somebody, but I'm hoping he's like, you know what, I'll take less money to stay here because I really found a home. Like, you guys took a chance on me. Let me repay the favor. Kind of like a Kelly Oubre thing last year. You
Right.
guys took a chance on me. Let me repay the favor by not taking as much money, so you guys aren't super strapped for cap space.
Mhm.
But I really love Gershon. He's just been amazing and one of the very few constants for this team this year. So big fan of Gershon, and
Right.
I hope the Sixers can get him back.
Can retain him in the
Mhm.
offseason. Yeah, I've been really impressed with
Yep.
him. When I saw him at the Olympics, he was really good. And at the time when they said he wasn't even in the NBA, I was like, whoa, he's good enough to be in the NBA because he's playing. He can definitely get a role that could be a good enough bench player coming off the bench and being a utility player. And that's exactly what he has been for the Sixers. Whether he's playing the center position, whether he's starting, whether he's coming off the bench, he's been really, really good for us, right? Considering the injuries that our big men have been
Yep.
going, and Nick Nurse not wanting to play certain big guys like Adem Bona. But Yabusele, I've been really impressed with him. And like you said, I didn't even realize that he was shooting 40%
Yep.
from the 3-point line. And then he also brings a physicality inside, especially when he gets those mismatches in the post. He always makes he always try to be physical with them and also with other big men. But sometimes,
Mhm.
the rebounding is just because he's very, very undersized, going up against some of these 7-footers, they're always going to beat him on the
Tough.
glass.
Yeah.
So it's very, very tough for him. But I think at the deadline, I'm really impressed with Quentin Grimes. Now I did
Yep.
say I had a few words about Quentin Grimes. I said he's not a good playmaker, but what he's shown us in the last 4 or 5 games, I've been really impressed with. And I think if the Sixers are able to retain him for the next season or two, I think he can be a very, very good contributor on this team.
Yeah. I think Grimes is I think he's only 24 too, right? So
Right.
that's
Very,
really
very young.
solid. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Now speaking of Tyrese Maxey, do you think that Tyrese should have been an All-Star this year? Because there's a lot of there's a lot of talk about him being snubbed, but I felt like there's better other guys deserved it. I mean, he deserved it too, but other guys, those that got it, also deserved it as well.
I I hate the All-Star voting. I think it's stupid. I I think fan voting. I think they should get rid of fan voting because I feel like even though it doesn't count for that great of a percentage of the votes, I feel like it's dumb because you have people out here voting for players who have nowhere close of a claim to the All-Star game, and people are voting. People who don't watch games are voting. So how are you going to vote on a guy you don't even know who he is and you don't know what he's playing like? There's still players in the All-Star game that are just getting there based on reputation.
Right.
Um,
That's a fact.
and again, I have to look at even though I don't want to, I'd have to look at the All-Star roster this year
Mhm.
to confirm that. But I know it's true because it happens all the time. It happens every year. So I'm gonna say Tyrese Maxey's averaging 27 a game. Like
Right. Fifth in
the
scoring.
the 3-point shooting is down this year, but he's also having to take more shots because no Embiid and PG, so he's having to adjust. So the 3-point shooting is doesn't look as great in the box score, but whatever. Um, he's averaging 27 a game. Like he was probably averaging what 25 when the All Star voting began. I don't know. To me, he's an All Star. To me, he will always be an All Star. To me, he's just amazing.
Yeah.
I think he should have been an All Star. But the All Star voting is a joke. So a lot of times, players who we may think should make it don't because the voting is just so dumb, and it's a messed up system that skews and leaves players out who are very deserving.
Right. Yeah, the voting recognition, yeah, it definitely goes against certain players. Norman Powell being one of them, in the Western Conference. So, yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you. But I mean, I said on this channel that I felt like Maxi should have made it over Darius Garland,
Yeah,
and I have this guy on the show who's a Cleveland Cavaliers content creator who disagreed with me, but I think
okay,
Maxi absolutely deserved it. But maybe the NBA was trying to, favor guys that are winning. I mean, the Sixers, not in the play-in, but the
yeah.
Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, the first seed. They have a very good record, so maybe that's why they gave it to him. So, I mean, that I could understand it from that point of view, but I felt like he still should have made the All Star team. But moving forward, there's only 28 games left in the regular season. The Sixers, like we have said, the Sixers are the 11th seed. I think they're 2 or 3 games out the play-in. Moving forward, what can we expect from the 76ers for the second half of this season?
Uh, um, I don't want to sound negative, but you can expect some more losing probably. Um,
Mm,
unfortunately, I don't think things are going to get much better unless for some reason the organization is like, hey, you know what, Embiid's actually fine, and he's going to play the rest of the season, every single game, or even like 80% of the games. Unless that happens, they are kind of cooked. And I don't know. It's just tough to know now because we don't know what direction they're going to go in. Are
right,
they going to embrace the tank? Are they going to try and win as many games as possible? As Embiid, how many more games is he going to play, if at all? I don't know, but I can say with some confidence that there's going to be a decent amount of a decent amount more losing, I think is what we're going to see. And I think they have 30 games left. Is that accurate?
28.
28. Okay, I was close.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I don't want to make a record prediction because there's a lot that goes into that, especially now that this team is very injured.
Right,
Um you know, I don't know. I think will they go 500? That'd be cool. Might be asking a lot. Again, is Embiid going to play? If he's not going to play, they're not going to win many more games. If he is going to play, well, I think they're going to win almost all the games he plays. However many he plays, I think they will win almost all of them. So
mm,
everything, if you haven't noticed, everything comes from Embiid. If the team is losing, it means Embiid isn't playing. If the team is winning, it means he is playing because that's just how that's how it's been the past since he's been drafted. I mean, really, like since the first time he was in MVP talks,
right.
everything comes from him. If they're losing, he's probably not playing. If they're winning, he probably is playing. So I don't know.
But suppose let's say everybody's healthy. If Do you think the best the best thing to do is to, still shut them down and tank
Mhm.
and go for the 6th pick, or just try to make it to the play-in and see where you can see where it goes from there.
It's a tough question. If everyone is healthy,
Mm-hmm.
you might call me crazy, and the chat will probably roast me as they have been this whole time. But I think if everybody's healthy, you go all in and you try and win, because
Mm-hmm.
if there's some sort of guarantee that they can be like, all right, Embiid's going to be 85%, 90% the whole time, like he won't miss much more time, and he'll be like 85%, 90%. I think they go for it. Call me again. Chat's gonna probably roast me for this, as they have the whole time, but I think the Sixers are better than the Cavs when they're healthy. I think the Sixers. I kind of think I'm not super high on the Knicks because of Towns. I think the Sixers could beat them if everyone's healthy. If Paul George is healthy, he's not gonna have to get any more injections in his knee, and Embiid is healthy. I think they could beat the Knicks in a 7-game series. I'd probably go to 7, obviously, but I think they could beat the Knicks and the Cavs. The Bucks, I don't know, because Giannis is just ridiculously good, and if Dame is on fire, I don't know how anybody is beating that team. Their depth isn't that great, but Dame is amazing. Giannis is amazing. So I don't know, but I think if there's some sort of guarantee that Embiid's going to be like 85%, 90%, you go for it. You try and win, because then, okay, it doesn't work out. He can get surgery in the offseason. But if there's any shadow of a doubt in the next couple of weeks, I think they pull the plug and they sit Embiid. I think they should do that. I don't know if they will, but that's what I would probably do, because at this point, if you're not going to be able to say for some sort of certainty that he can or cannot play, you pull the plug and you sit him for the season, and he gets that surgery that he should have gotten low key, even though I understand why he didn't get it. He gets that surgery, and then you shut him down, and then Paul George can play. I don't care. That's what I would do. I don't know what they're going to do, but Paul George can play. I don't know how much I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make either way.
I mean, I think if everybody's healthy, I mean, because I mean I don't know if you saw it, but I seen pictures of all 3 of them in practice. They were having fun, and Paul George just said that he really needed this All-Star break to rejuvenate himself. So
Yeah.
I think if they're all healthy, I'll say they should definitely try for the play-in.
Yep.
And then if you can make the play-in and get into the playoffs, I mean, that's where everything changes, because you have to see a team in the playoffs and then play them. Play them at least
Yeah.
in a 7-game series. And just like you said, I mean, the Cavs, the Sixers can pretty much beat the Cavs. I absolutely agree with that. But the Knicks logic, I don't know about that.
They'll be tough. They'll be tough to beat for sure. But
right,
I think
the Knicks would definitely be tough. I mean, the rebounding is my only concern. And I mean, we don't know Andre Drummond. He's also been in and out the lineups. I think he was out the rotation, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if he's gonna play or not. But yeah, against the Knicks, I'm not sure. But if they can make the play-in, right, which they will either face the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Boston Celtics. Now, Cleveland, like I said, they can pretty much beat Cleveland. But Boston, I don't know, man, because not too long ago, they just blew a 26-point lead to the Boston Celtics. But again, no Paul George, no Joel Embiid. When all 3 of them was playing and everybody was healthy, they did take them down on Christmas. So that could be tricky. That could go either way. But I think it'll come down to who wants it more. And whoever brings it, whichever coach makes the right adjustments, I think that team is going to win that playoff series for sure.
Yeah.
But let's say they shut down Joel Embiid and they don't shut down Paul George. Do you think the Sixers are good enough with those 2 to make the play-in and then get into the playoffs?
Oh, another good question. Let me check their schedule real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. And as you do, I'll just go through the comments, because I've been doing a terrible job not reading these comments. Appreciate y'all for being in here. Salute to my guy, One Mike in the building. Appreciate you always in here showing love. Boston Celtics fan. And also salute to the Sporting Page. Y'all can go check his channel out, the Sporting Page. One of the biggest Embiid criticizers on the platform. I love having him here, to be honest. Salute to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast as well. Salute to my guy A. He says Pinky P isn't a serious player. Joel Embiid. Man, these nicknames they've been out of control, man. I've been hearing
What is
Big
Pinky
P, Pocket
Pete?
P, and
I've
yeah.
never heard that one.
Man,
All right.
the sporting page says, did you get it yet? Did you pull it up yet?
Yeah. I got it.
Oh yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna say that it's gonna be really, really, really difficult. I think I don't know. I'm looking at Boston twice. I'm looking at Milwaukee a couple times. I'm looking at Minnesota. It's just, I mean, they're gonna have to win a couple of those games and then win every game outside of that. So we're
Right,
talking like a really slim chance of them making the play. And now the thing is too, Miami is gonna continue to get worse. They don't have Jimmy. I mean, they're essentially rebuilding, tanking, I guess you could say. And I don't know where Atlanta's going to end up. I think they're a decent team that could kind of sneak their way in. Chicago stinks, so I think they could continue to fall in the standing. So, maybe with some luck on your side, you can sneak in 10, maybe 9 because they're what is that 5.5 behind the Heat.
right.
So we still have a full half. It's going to be tough. I can't necessarily say for certain. The Bulls stink. The Heat stink. I think there's a chance. What percent chance I would give, I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But I definitely would say it's possible. I definitely will say it's possible for sure.
Yeah, definitely possible. And the Pull Up Basketball podcast says, "Yeah, Andre, you suck at multi." Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm not even gonna argue that. I'm not gonna argue that. But I have this one last question for you, bro, and
Sure.
then we can, you know. But when the Sixers had James Harden and when Embiid was out the lineups, the Sixers were still able to win games, and we saw it in the regular season. We saw it in the playoffs where they closed out the series against the Brooklyn Nets, and then they played Boston in Game 1 in Boston, and they were able to take that game against the Boston Celtics without Joel Embiid. But with Paul George on this team, Paul George and Maxey being together with Embiid being out, they haven't been able to win games as much as the other duo, the James Harden and Tyrese Maxey duo, was winning. Why do you think the James Harden and Maxey duo is better than the duo between Maxey and Paul George? And why do you think that team was winning games and this duo is not winning games without Embiid?
Before I answer real quick, I just want to go to your chat real quick. The Pull Up Basketball podcast, I don't know if he's referencing what I said, but I did not say Atlanta is tanking. He said Atlanta is not tanking either. I don't know if he's talking about what I said, but I did not say Atlanta was tanking because you're right. They're not tanking. I did not say they were. I just wanted to clear that up, clear the air there.
Yeah,
So you said, I'm sorry, could you just repeat that last part of the question? I apologize.
the duo between why can't the duo between Maxey and PG win games just like the Harden and Maxey duos winning games at a high level?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, a lot of it has to do with health. James Harden was pretty healthy when he was here, especially towards the end of his tenure as a Sixer. He was fairly healthy, especially in the playoffs against Boston. He had that monster game 1, which essentially was the reason the Sixers won that game. So you get a healthy Paul George against Boston. I don't know. Can he do that? Can he do what Harden did in game 1 against Boston, perhaps? I don't know. I think it's possible, sure. But it's going to require Paul George to be healthy and fully ready to go and not having to rely on knee injections every other day.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with health, simply put. And I think for what their games are, I kind of like Maxey and Harden's game meshing a little better than I like PG and Maxey, just because I feel like Harden and Maxey can kind of play off each other because Harden command at least. I mean, he still does, but when he was with um the I'm sorry, what am I saying? He still does, but when he was with the Sixers, he commanded a lot of attention from the defense. And I'm not saying Paul George doesn't, but he doesn't draw as much offensive attention as Harden did. And with Maxey, a guy like Maxey who come off screens, hit shots, hit threes off the catch, he thrives off of other players drawing attention away from him.
Uh-huh.
So with Paul George not really being able to do that consistently, not really being able to create separation from defenders, not really forcing double teams, But, you know, I feel like Harden and Maxi's game meshed a little better, and I'm not saying I want Harden back, I promise.
I
But I
mean,
am
yeah, somebody just asked a question which I want to address, but yeah, finish off.
no, I mean, that's pretty much it. I I just think Harden and Maxi's game meshes together a little better, and a lot of it has to do with health because Harden was pretty healthy when he was here, and continuity with your stars is so important in their chemistry, in them learning each other's game, especially in the big time with playoffs and at the end of the regular season, like we're approaching. Having continuity with your stars is really important, and unfortunately, the Sixers haven't had that. Will they have that? I don't know. We have 30 games left. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But long story short, I really think it's just the fact that Maxi and Harden's games blend a little bit better than Maxi and PG's games.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Now, somebody said that's an odd question, DFJ. And B played 66 games that year, plus the team was much deeper on the wings, completely different roster constructions, which I agree with because somebody
Which
had asked me that question. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I was going to say, which year is he talking about? The Harden
The,
year?
yeah, the 2022-2023 season.
They were deeper on the wings. Am I tripping? Who did they have on the wings?
They had PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris. They traded for Jalen McDaniels.
Yeah, but I mean, Jalen McDaniels was kind of a non-factor in the playoffs, unfortunately. PJ Tucker didn't really do
Mhm.
much either, so I kind of disagree with that. But his overall point, I like Embiid playing 66 games. He was healthier. I agree with,
So,
but
right,
they
right.
weren't
I
they
mean,
weren't much deeper on the wings than they are now.
yeah, it was a different roster construction for sure,
Yeah,
but your point is also strong because James Harden did play a lot of games,
yeah.
but in this situation, Paul George hasn't really played a lot of games, so I think that definitely factors into it. But the question on the screen, Teacher got game. Appreciate you, bro. He says, "Do you think we should have given Ben Simmons another shot? We
No,
could use his defense and rebounding."
no,
Yeah, simple as that. No,
that's it.
and yeah, no. There's no explanation needed because Ben Simmons quit on the Sixers.
I
Why? I don't like quitters, so
I
that's
have an explanation, but it's too much. I won't.
nah,
I'll
bro. Go ahead,
It's
bro.
too long of an explanation.
Nah, bro, go ahead,
Okay,
bro.
let me just shorten it. Ben Simmons is one of the worst offensive players in the NBA, and and he would severely hinder this roster even more than it already has been. So
Yeah,
that's it.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Um, yeah, let me go through a few of these comments right
Yeah,
here. Sporting Page said Ben
for a
Simmons
trade.
asked
Yeah, that's
for a
valid
trade.
too.
Yeah, he did right,
He did.
exactly. So he didn't want to be here. I don't know why you would want to bring him
True.
back.
Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
yeah,
If you don't want
just
to be here, you can get out. You know.
adios,
Right.
sayonara. Sporting Page says the fact that the apologist
Who
is
is he talking
unsure,
about? Me? I
probably.
guess so. How is that?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I'm gonna need some further explanation from this guy. How is that proof of the problem with Embiid as the leader? I don't quite understand. If he could provide some explanation, I
Yeah,
could elaborate.
I should have read the comment because that we was probably talking about Embiid,
That's okay.
the situation, and we're probably missing the context from what he's actually trying to say. Which yeah, I did a terrible job with the comments, which I got called out for it. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely take all the criticisms. I got to be better. I'm asking for the Sixers to be better, but I got to be better as well, right? So I accept criticism. Salute to my guy Cottage 81. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
You don't know the direction of your franchise. You go to the captain who steers the ship. But it's
Mhm.
not that it's not even up to Joel Embiid. It's up to the management and the front office of what they want to do. Because if they decide to shut Embiid down, that's not necessarily up to him. Like if they are adamant about saying, "Okay, Embiid, you need to sit down. Like we don't want you to get injured. You need to sit. We're shutting you down." Like it's not really up to him. So in the sense of he's the leader on the court, yes, the team goes as far as he takes them. But when it comes to whether or not he is gonna play because of injury, it's not always just up to him. So the captain who steers the ship and ask him what's going on, like, yes, but that's more so when you're playing with him on the court. Like, if he's hurt and he can't play, you're not going to ask him what's going on because he can't be there and play. Like, it's out of his control. The injury is out of his control. There's nothing he can do except try and get healthy and preserve his body. So
Yeah.
it's in a time where he can't play, he can't steer the ship, and it's not his fault. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I understand what he's saying. I just
Mhm.
don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I dropped the link. I have a guest who probably wants to ask you just one question, a few questions. So I brought him up. I hope that's not an issue.
Yes, we can
Um,
question.
he works for the Clippers. Part of the media crew. What's good, BJ?
What's good, Dre?
What's good? What's good?
What's up, man? What's the guy's name? I don't want to mispronounce his name. What's his name?
Yeah, bro, you can go ahead and tell. Yeah, I mean, trust the love.
Who? Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yep. What's up?
trust the love.
What's up, man?
Yo,
I've
yo.
enjoyed listening to the show.
Yeah.
It's refreshing hearing somebody who actually speaks logically.
Thank you.
So I actually enjoyed it. Um, so like he said, I'm with the Clippers. So kind of the
Okay.
problem you have with Kawhi, with Embiid, that we having with Kawhi being healthy, and you got people saying that Kawhi needs to be traded and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've reached a point with him. It's like, as great as Kawhi is, I feel his injuries have held us back. Right. So it's like, what point do you pull the plug and say, okay, it's just not going to happen because he's holding the team back? That's the question I have for Embiid. Like, he is a dominant player. At what point do you say, okay, it's just not working, and what is the plan to change it up to try to at least get him back healthy? Because it seems like he's continuously missing time in the playoffs, and it's just like, what's the plan to get him back right?
I feel like I really like what you said about Kawhi because, and I want to say this without me coming off as like I'm just excusing Embiid, I'm absolving him, but I feel like it's a bit different with Kawhi because if I'm being honest, I feel like Embiid's played more than Kawhi recently. Like, you know what? Let me just go look at their games. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah, in the
Maybe
playoffs,
not
Kawhi,
recently.
right? The playoffs, Embiid plays over Kawhi for sure, and the
Well, maybe it's well, regular season it kind of looks about the same. Playoffs, yeah, Embiid definitely plays. Wow, Kawhi hasn't played. Wow, I mean, since the bubble, Kawhi hasn't played much more than. Well, I mean, they've only been there 3 times since the bubble anyway, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. Either way, anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. But I think to answer your question, Joel Embiid makes Kawhi look like easy green. What? Um, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know that there is much you can do because the injury, it's not something that he can necessarily do without now we know getting a procedure done. And does he do it now? And kind of like what we were talking about before, like does he do it now and they shut him down? Does he do it? Does he play and then do the procedure? Does he rest to see if he can really fully heal it? And maybe they make one more small push at the end of February, whatever, beginning of March, and then he gets surgery if they are eliminated. I don't know. I don't know that there is a concrete answer because when it comes to Embiid, we've seen a lot of the injuries he was getting and has gotten be as the result of other players and things that he can't really do. And the same thing applies with the recovery and the solution process is there's nothing he can really fully do that will guarantee his health at this point. Because again, these injuries he's getting, they're not things that you can fix without, I mean, especially a knee injury. Like he needs to get surgery done. And until he does that, there isn't really anything else he can do except try to play through it, which I guess he kind of has been because he has played 17 games this season, which is not many. I understand that. But I feel like there isn't really much he can do until, and I mean, if and when he gets the surgery done. So until then, there isn't anything he can do because it's clear he's not fully healthy. It's clear the knee is still bothering him, and the only solution is a procedure.
And see, that's the thing too. I think because he's been dealing with injuries since he came into the league,
Yeah.
and it's like I personally feel that he hasn't given his body the opportunity to recover.
Yeah.
Like
I think
it's more,
that's somewhat valid.
so it's like because of that, you have one injury after another. You're not recovering properly, so it's become creating more issues. And also, I believe how Embiid plays. Yes, they've been injuries from other people, but and this is my opinion. I think he would be more healthier if he just played more inside rather than play like he's 6'5", 6'6" on the perimeter, running around and like coming off his, because you're putting yourself at risk for players like with the guy that ran into his knee that was on the perimeter. Like he got to start playing more like his size, and I think that would help him be more healthier. So that way you're not even prone or vulnerable to even have a freak accident like that. So I think some of that is on Embiid just based off how he plays.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the play where he got Kuminga fell on his knee, I think they were both going for a loose ball. Right, he was diving on the floor for a loose ball, and unfortunately, he was trying to go for it. Kuminga was trying to go for it, and unfortunately, he fell on his knee. But I mean, I felt like that game itself, he shouldn't even been out there because he wasn't even playing that good because he had missed the game against Denver, missed the game against the Trailblazers. So I felt like he shouldn't even been out there because he was hurt. He was not feeling right. But I mean, he still went out there trying to give the team because the team had lost like 3 in a row. So he was trying to help the team win. And unfortunately, he got hurt. Which, to Trustthelov's point, I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, somebody fell into his knee. It's not like he's doing something to get himself hurt, right? It's just unfortunate situations at that point.
But yeah, this y'all, and see that's the thing also too. Like you guys, and this goes to the point which y'all should tank or not. Like I looked at y'all schedule. I don't just watch I watch the whole NBA. So, and you made a good point. A lot of people don't even watch the games. They just look at the
They
box score.
don't. It's
That's why
sad.
that's why I support Andre so much because I could tell he's a student of the game. I like people. I like talking ball with people who actually watched it and understand the game. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's big for me. So I support him a lot. But you guys went 9-2 that month in December, and you guys were starting to click. And what I told Andre last night when I was on his show, I said, your biggest problem, like you just echoed, has been y'all health. Y'all are missing like 4 or 5 different players. Andre Drummond in out the lineup. Jared McCain gets hurt. You have the Martin brothers get hurt. Caleb and KJ Martin, they get hurt. And of course, you got PG in and out the lineup. You have Embiid, of course. Like that's essentially 4 or 5 guys. And what the role players do is take the pressure off the stars, because now what's happening is you got all these other players getting hurt because they're overplaying, like Yabusele, like what I'm saying. These guys are getting hurt. Lowry's getting hurt. Eric Gordon's getting hurt because they're having to overcompensate because players are not all there. So it's like a domino effect. So I don't think it's y'all team at all. Y'all beating the top teams. Y'all beat Cleveland. Y'all beat Boston. Y'all competed against the Knicks 2 separate times without Embiid there the second time. This was in January with the Maxi and PG. Y'all were playing. Y'all lost a lot of close games with missing a
Right.
lot of y'all role players. So you guys have been doing as good as y'all can do with what y'all have. So I don't understand the notion and the narrative that y'all are just this bad because that y'all lost some close games. And I'm with you on the Nick Nurse thing. Like the only thing I blame Nick Nurse for is how more so you got to have a pecking order. Like you got to have it where players, like what is your coaching scheme? Because I personally feel, and I told him this last night, I said, when MB comes back and y'all 3 players are there, people saying PG's playing bad, bad, bad. Well, when he's playing with Maxi this last month, he was averaging 20 points before they got that hand injury. He was starting to click. But when Embiid comes back, I watched and I kind of saw a lot of times he'd be standing in the corner. He'd be like he's not involved. He's a rhythm player. He's not touching the basketball. Not only him, but nobody else is touching the basketball. And that's where I blame Nick Nurse. It's like you got to have plays drawn up and schemes drawn up where everybody's involved. You can't just allow Maxey and Embiid to keep running the same pick and roll over and over and over, icing everybody out the offense. Hello?
Oh, well, I don't know what happened. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
My thing wasn't working. Yeah, but I feel like, yeah, those are good points for sure. I feel like when you, especially, I think we were talking about earlier with the older guys, and thankfully, I guess not thankfully because I kind of liked him, but thankfully Reggie Jackson is gone, and Nick Nurse doesn't even have the option of playing him more than he should now. Yeah, I like the point you made about the pecking order. Like, there's got to be certain guys that you play, and even though Eric Gordon's a vet, and we were talking about earlier how he had a good season in Phoenix, which he did, and I still feel like he's just an okay, decent player. He can hit threes, whatever. But when you're relying on a guy like that too much, it's not good, especially when you have other guys who can play really well. And I don't know if it's just because they've been in the G League for a while, they're sort of a little more improved. But it's like you have Justin Edwards. I mean, I know he's not a guard, but Justin Edwards. You have Adem Bona, who's decent. I actually work for the Bluecoats. He's pretty good. I like him. He's got a very physicality about him, and I kind of like that. Yeah, I don't know. I just I bring it all back to, Nick Nurse is just trying to do the best he can with what he has, and when it's a guy like Justin Edwards or it's a guy like a Dembona, as good as they look and as good as they might be and as good as they are, I feel like because they're both rookies and they're both still kind of unproven in a sense, I feel like Nick Nurse isn't super apt to give them a bunch of playing time. And the times that we saw Justin Edwards get really playing time, he dropped 30 points, and it landed him a real NBA contract. So he's been with the Sixers for the past couple weeks now. So I don't know. I like Nick Nurse a lot. I still have a lot of confidence in his ability to coach a team that actually has players and their best players playing. So I don't know. I feel like another season. I feel like a fresh season, fresh start is going to make him look really good. Or I should say, allow the perception of him to change for the better.
Yeah. I mean, you already said that you don't think firing him will be the solution. I mean, sometimes you hear Sixers fans say fire him, and I get it. And I've said the same thing in the past of how rotation, play calling, and how the offense was. But and sometimes you gotta think he's a championship coach. And when the next season, when the Raptors had Kyle Lowry and all those other folks, he really coached that team really well. Now, yeah, offensively they were not good, but they were so good defensively, and they were the second seed, right, heading into the bubble. Now they lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics, but he really coached the basketball, right? He coached his tail up, and he got the most out of that team, and they were successful on the strength of him, right? Now, yeah, the players did their job, but Nick Nurse also really helped them a lot. So sometimes I get caught in saying, fire Nick Nurse, but then again, I know what he's capable of doing with a full roster. And this Sixers team they haven't been fully healthy, so we don't know how good they would have been if everybody was on the court and no injuries.
Exactly.
I think Nurse has done a great job. Actually, to be quite honest with you, and I saw this last month, I remember I saw like a report that after they got beat by Denver, like I think Nurse in the locker room, like they said that he got mad. I think he started cussing out the team.
Cussing somebody out. Mm-hmm.
So it's like that, and then I started seeing y'all turn y'all team around. Like y'all beat Cleveland. Y'all beat Cleveland without Embiid. That was probably y'all best win of the season next to Boston. So
right.
I think he is doing actually better. It's showing how good of a coach he actually is. for what he has. Because I determine what a good coach is what you do when you don't have a lot, not when you have a lot. Like anyone could go out there and coach well when they have like a super team or superstars, but what can you do when you have less of your players, less ingredients? What can you make? What type of meal can you make? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the Sixers are 11th seed right now, but I'm looking at in the losses, I'm looking at like how are y'all competing? Like y'all missing like essentially half of y'all squad. It's not even just Embiid's out. Y'all missing like 4, 5, 6 dudes out the lineup rotation. That's a lot of players.
Right, it is. But bringing the show to an end, I want to get your thoughts, BJ, on the topic and what can we expect from the Sixers in the second half of the season, and then I'm gonna ask Trusttheluv his final thoughts as well, and then we'll bring the show to an end.
I think y'all gonna make the play-in. I don't think you guys should shut Embiid down unless it's got to a point where it's like so unbearable for him to play and y'all just start losing. But there's no reason to shut Paul George down. I mean, what you gonna shut him down for a pinky? His pinky, you gonna shut him down? Nah, he's fine. Like he needed to get back right. You guys saw that picture on Twitter where it looked like him and Maxey. It was probably PG. Like he needed that time away.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, he gonna come back. If Nick Nurse allows him, like I said, what is he? Is he the third option with y'all? He's the second option. Is he the first? Like, what is he the option? Like he's not gonna be with the Clippers unless you guys give him the reins to be the second option. That's the only way you're gonna allow him to. But as far as what I think y'all gonna be, I think y'all gonna make the play in. And if y'all make the play in and somehow get into that playoff mix, you guys have a great chance of beating Cleveland or Boston in a series.
Interesting. Appreciate you, BJ. But yeah, I'm gonna go to Trusttheluv, get his final thoughts and final comments on this Sixer team and the season, and we'll bring the show to an end.
I don't even know. There's just so I think I wish we could just get like some sort of indication as to what they're gonna do. Hey guys, we're actually gonna shut Embiid down. I think it's best for the organization. Or hey guys, you know what? Embiid, we talked to Embiid. He's gonna play as many games as he can, and we're gonna try and compete for the play-in. I wish we could get something like that. We're not going to, probably. I wish we could because it would just make my thoughts so much easier. But without any of that, I'm gonna say I really would love to see the Sixers compete for a play-in spot. And I know we talked about it earlier in the show. I know that requires Embiid being healthy. I know that requires PG being healthy, and I understand that. So I really would love to see them make the play-in because I really feel like if they're healthy, I really feel like they could cause some chaos in the East, in my opinion. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that, but I would love to see them try.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to see them compete. The whole logic of tanking, I don't want to see that. I want to see my team fight. I want to see them compete and try to give themselves a chance in the playoffs or maybe even at the play-in. You have to make the playoffs through the play-in at this point. But I mean, if they can compete and get to that 10th spot and try to get into the playoffs, they can definitely cause an upset, right? I think they can absolutely cause an upset. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I think they will definitely try to make the play-in, and that's where I'm going with it. I don't think Embiid will get shut down, even though I want them to shut him down, but I don't think I don't think Daryl Morey is gonna I don't think he's gonna shut him down. But yeah, this brings it to the end of the show. Appreciate my guy RJ for tapping in with us. He says ain't no playoffs this season. Yeah, I know RJ's really down on the Sixers this year because they've been very, very terrible. So, but I mean, I just want to see them. I just want to see them compete. And that's where I'm at with it. But before we end the show, bro, Trusttheluv, I want you to tell the comments where they can find you. Tell the people where they can find you if you have a YouTube channel or TikTok or whatever social media account.
Bet. I have Instagram. You guys can check me out on Instagram. Trusttheluv, the same spelling and wording as the thing, my username here. And then I also have TikTok. My TikTok is more NBA videos than just Sixers. My TikTok is the same thing, Trusttheluv. It's a picture of me, so it's pretty easy to tell. And yeah, I've been posting more on Instagram lately. So if you want Sixers stuff, check out my Instagram. But if you want more NBA stuff, check out my TikTok. So appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here because I love doing this stuff, and I'm very glad to do it.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you for tapping in with us. Appreciate you for coming over here to DFJ Hoops, the Talk Sixers basketball. But y'all heard him. You can find him on Instagram. Trusttheluv. Yeah, I spelled that. I put it in the comment section right there. So yeah, you can check him out. Trusttheluv on TikTok. Trusttheluv. It's the same spelling, and you can catch his content over there. But appreciate you guys for tuning in. Salute to my guy Sporting Page. Salute to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Salute to RJ for tapping in. Salute to my guy Cottage 81. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're gonna catch you guys on the next one. Peace.